And welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated and our premier sponsors, Cottonwood Coffee and Drake's Place. As always, we love Cottonwood Coffee. We hope some of you stopped there before tailgating this weekend, and we love the specials at Drake's Place. And again, we fully want them to ship us some food, or we can stop out there, one of the two. We're going to figure it out because we do want to try some of that 605 sandwich. And then we want to drive to Brookings and get some of that dark roast that is oh so good. So, Kyle, Dallas, how are you?
I've been better. Vikes dropped another one, but the Jacks got a dub, so it's kind of like a mixed bag of emotions. But got a big week coming up. Should be pretty fun. How about you?
I'm good. You know what? Honestly, I gotta confess, I got a problem. I'm out of beer at my house, basically. So what I've got in my giant mug here is I've got a couple of sours out of a mixed 12-pack, and I like all of the beer. I'm not a sour guy. So if you see me grimace, if I kind of struggle through today, that's why. I'm doing my best.
You mixed two different beers?
Yes, I mixed two sours because that's what I had left. So we're gonna gut this out.
Nice.
We're good,
man. Well, and we're also part of the FCS Nation, FCS Fans Nation, Woofta, podcast network.
You got this, man.
Which is the home of Chris Hammond. He's the FCS Nation's editor, contributor, co-owner. And in his most recent poll, he put SDSU at 5th place and had us winning against Washington. He misspelled some teams. So
what's happening? Was he hacked?
I don't know if he was hacked or if
I think he was hacked.
He might just be a hack. If you listen to our other friends on the FCS podcast, they think he's a giant hack. So he might be hack of the week. Chris Hammond, our friend from FCS Fans Nation. So Chris, we're a little disappointed in you. And we hope that you move us up from 5th.
If you're not ruffling feathers, are you relevant? That's probably Chris's mindset.
Ooh,
gotta ask for controversy. Can't argue with that.
Just trying to give him a nod. Right? Everybody could
Yeah.
have an opinion. Exactly, Dallas. Yep.
Oh man,
it seems like he's trolling a little bit, though. I don't know.
I think so.
I thought only people north of Brookings trolled FCS like constantly.
Indeed.
Yeah, isn't that Matt's job for
Good.
man? All right. So we're coming off a big Jacks victory over Dixie State, 55-7. Again, the Jacks did not play great, but they still won 55-7. So I don't know. I'm ready for the meat of the schedule to get here. I don't know about you fellas. I'm ready for Valley play. And we got a big test next week. What are your opening thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to see some different grade of competition roll out there on the field, whether we're at their place or they're at the Dana. It'll just be nice to see more comparable level of competition. That's not slighting any of the teams we played so far. Obviously, I think Colorado State on the road was a nice little test. We handled that pretty well, handled all subsequent tests as one would expect a team of our caliber in echelon now. But, we talked about it kind of ad nauseum so far. We're kind of a victim to our ability geographically to schedule what we could schedule. Tarleton's attempts to kind of shirk us and get out of that obligation. We're playing some new joinees to the FCS classification. And then, so, it's just kind of a mixed bag of adversity that we've had to overcome, which we've overcome quite nicely. Having seen the stat that popped up today, this is the largest differential in margin of victory the Jacks have had through their first 4 games ever in history. So that's pretty remarkable, regardless of opponent. But looking back, I think 2009 was the last time we had even close to 100-point margin of victory or differential through the first 4 games. And I was able to play on that squad with Jimmy Rogers, Coach Rogers, the co-defensive coordinator there. And so I'm sure he's proud to be leading a team like that so far. Should have had another shutout, but What can you
got to
do?
be the way that defense is playing. He's got to be proud. I mean, that's what you need to see when one phase isn't doing what they need to do, to have the defense just step up, handle business, and give the offense time to start clicking. That bodes well for future games. Talking about getting into the meat of the schedule, I'm in the same boat. Where I realized that this week was the amount of just stupid time that I spent concerned about black jerseys and white pants. That, if we're in the meat of the Missouri Valley, I'm not worried about that. And I spent way too much time on it this week.
Yeah. I wrote about that in Rants and Raves a little bit. Huge missed opportunity for this blackout game. This could have been something really cool, really special. I hope we try it again. Because there was interest. Like, I think there is interest. There's some of the crowd that, SDSU's blue and yellow. I'm never wearing black to a game.
That's
but
ridiculous.
For the most part, people were into it. It seemed like it's just unfortunate that it wasn't coordinated a little bit better. The announcement didn't get out a little sooner. When I went through Colorado State's schedule earlier, in the summer in August, they had already chosen which games were going to be their orange game, their green game, their white game, like at home. So, I thought that was kind of cool to get that out ahead of time.
Yeah, that kind of stuff takes training. I mean, it's going to take a few years. I know, I think maybe Ben suggested the alternating yellow and blue in sections. Like, that would be fantastic. But, we're probably 2 years away from that. You just got to get people bought in, start filling up the stands, keep them full. But yeah, it was cool. I'm really happy that the school started taking some steps towards those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So getting back to the defense just a little bit, because that was just about as dominating as a defensive showing as you can have. On the year, the Jacks are allowing just 9.2 points per game and 2.2 yards per carry on the ground. Yeah, they gave up, according to ESPN, they gave up 3 yards on the ground yesterday. SDSU, the app said -3, and then the official website stat book said 0. So 0 is the average of all that, right? So
yep. ESPN is wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. Stig said life's an average, so it's got to be an average.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite Stig quotes, by the way. Life's an average. That was
right.
20 years ago. He was saying that, and it's true.
Yeah. Again, 4 sacks last night. Defensive line was pretty dominant throughout. The commentators were talking about that. And then, what was the big question all week? People were, sad about the loss for All-American cornerback. And Stephen R.L. and Dallas Beanham, I think they showed out last night, played really well. And
along with Daishan and Malik as well, filling in. A lot of the young guys, Dotterman got in there. We had a lot of guys really step up with that next man up attitude, and I was really encouraged by that. I mean, that's kind of what I expected them to do, and relish that opportunity. We forget, because one guy goes down, the other guy should be chomping at the bit. It's a bummer that their guy goes out, but you don't relinquish your opportunity, to make an impact for your team and get the team where you need to be, so that when Don's healthy, it's like a well-oiled machine where you can just rotate guys in if you need to spell them.
Yep. Yeah, it felt that way. Man, they were excited. It just, when you see the next guy go in, you can tell they're just waiting on that opportunity. And it's the mentality of this squad just is in a really good spot right now. I was going to add, Dallas Beanham is now one step closer to joining the Dallas club. I know we discussed earlier a couple of weeks ago. It's a big question mark for me. I don't know. There'll be a ceremony. It comes with a T-shirt, Dallas. So keep playing well, and we'll let you in.
So for those of you that don't know, it's Dallas Goddard, Dallas Brown, Dallas Clarkson, and now Dallas Beanham. So perfect.
Do I get grandfathered in since I live in DFW? Do I get to be a Dallas Jack?
I don't know. If we're changing the spelling to Dallas for Beanham, maybe. All right, we'll work on that.
I love it.
Yeah. And then one thing, kind of thinking.
Yeah. So
last night, and then seeing Don getting super excited for these young guys getting their picks, and then Landon narrating the hype video, and then Isaiah seeing him on the sidelines too, cheering on folks. Like, God, it's so cool. Like, these guys could be pouting but they're not. Like, they are still an active part of the program, and I love that. I love that about our culture.
Yeah, definitely.
Quick side note, just because Matt, you did cut out there for a second. I want to just mention to everybody, Matt, you are live from where?
I am in East Lansing, Michigan, right outside of Michigan State's campus at the Graduate Hotel.
That's awesome. So if he starts to get all tinny and like fades out for a second, you can blame their Wi-Fi. We'll give you an address to write a complaint later. But just give everybody a heads up. That's what's going on.
Well,
and quick shout out, we got to celebrate some wins on the podcast. You know, we're real people. We love talking about the Jacks. So all you guys tuning in, humor us for a second. But Matt had a big win in his career with a big grant. So I want to give him a shout out for going 1-0 as well on that. And he's traveling. So on location in Lansing, East Lansing, right? East Lansing. And want to make sure we recognize how committed he is. And then Ben too. Ben had a little technical issue as well on site last week, I think, for a wedding or something of the effect. So appreciate you guys bearing with us.
Yeah. And then one more win for our team. Our What's Cooking Wednesday contributor, Tim Goldhammer, coming home with the Beef Bowl cook-off victory after
awesome.
years of finishing third place. So proud of Tim. Good job, buddy.
That bodes well. How many years do we have of being the second, third, fourth best team? Tim comes through.
That's true. That's true. So
it's a good omen. It's good juju for sure.
Yeah. And also, Tim sits in section 118 of the stadium, and he's that guy that yells block that kick and onside kick every time. And so he's taking credit for that muffed kickoff last night. So he texted me that right before I started here. So making sure he gets credit for that.
Clearly.
It's awesome.
Yeah. What do you guys got for rants? Any raves? What do you guys got?
Let's real quick talk about the 1,000-pound elephant or 1,000-pound rabbit in the room. So we looked a little disjointed on offense, right? I think that would be just a general rant. And I don't know if it's a focus thing. I don't know if it's a timing thing. I don't know if the scheme shouldn't have overwhelmed us, but I think they were doing some things where, it's like kind of guerrilla warfare-esque, right? That 4-2-5 defense that the Trailblazers were running. They were slanting a lot, which means their defensive line was all moving in unison, shooting in one direction, either left or right, into the gaps to try to be disruptive with the run game, because they probably assumed we were going to try to establish that run game. I think some folks thought that we were running a delayed handoff or maybe some RPO stuff, but on the rewatch, it really just looked like Pierre was waiting to press the hole, and it was kind of throwing some timing off. I think we were looking for the big play and really going for the jugular a little bit early through the air in the passing game. And then, of course, some penalties. Some penalties were hurting us, and we were shooting ourselves in the foot to where we could not develop a real rhythm or fluidity to kind of allow Chris to settle into the game. So that's kind of been 2 games in a row now that's happened. Not necessarily on the O-line, but 2 games in a row where we've not been able to find our stride and string together, a solid, fluid drive in which we're establishing dominance and our will. I think that what I liked seeing later on in the game as far as offense is concerned is taking what was there. A lot of times the crossing routes were coming open. Chris was either reading not the wrong side of the field, or reading the side of the field away from the blitz, which usually that's where the coverage is going to be, right? You want to throw into the void, throw into the blitz, because that's the area that the defense is vacating, right? So I think sometimes we're getting locked in on receivers, started using our tight ends late, which is a big rave, right? Our tight ends were excellent in the game. We'll talk about, I'm sure, Mike Morgan at some point specifically, but outside of that, when we see a 4-2-5 defense, I liked what Coach X started doing, getting on the edge, working the alley, right? Because you force that rover player, that additional either nickelback linebacker, just kind of that rover back, to have to either commit to the run in the lane. And then you can kind of move the pocket too with the passing game, which Chris has shown exceptional ability to throw on the run. So I hope we do that more and involve that more as the time goes on here. So that's just what I saw.
So sorry, you did the rewatch. I have not. I had zero time to look at much of anything today. Can you go back if you have anything else to talk through on the run game? Because we had a discussion about it in our text thread during the game, whether it was intentional, delay draw type action, or it was slow. It was way too slow. So do you have anything else to add on that? Because I'm curious what you saw.
Yeah, I'll say, trying to be kind of general here. Our offensive line, I would say, and it was kind of tough to tell based on the angle of the camera. I would make sure that we're keying on our fundamentals and making sure when we're in our stance, we're not giving away what we're doing based on our stance. Make sure pass looks like pass, run looks like run, because sometimes on pulling situations, I could tell who was pulling. And, we need to clean some of that stuff up. And because I think they were shooting gaps, there was penetration. They were doing certain things like stemming. So stemming, for those who don't know, they were lining up in one position and kind of like stemming and moving at a certain point. Illinois or Southern Illinois was doing that a lot, and Western Illinois is doing that a lot in this game that they played this past weekend. And that can be effective prior to identifying who you're going to block. But with zone blocking schemes like we have, just block the zone, block the space. So hopefully we can clean some of that stuff up. And with the run game, you got to just make your cut and get upfield, press the gap, right? You can't run into a blitz. There was some of that. We were running directly into a blitz. They were bringing off the edge. Some of that stuff, you're going to have to live to fight another day.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out to me, both watching the game and then going back and looking at the stats afterwards, was the number of penalties. Again, 10 penalties for 110 yards. That's got to get cleaned up. And that wasn't just at the end of the game in the backups. There was a lot of costly penalties early in the game on the offense. So
the number of times during the game that I said Stig is pissed to my family. That's what difference maker on Tuesday and the Stig show tomorrow night. Like, that's what he's gonna be talking about.
Yeah, three penalties within the first couple drives there, where we had Aaron Johnson, really not his fault. He's just got to he's got to have that presence of mind and feel where Chris escaped the pocket. He's pass setting, trying to give him a good, nice, cup, right? Not spill the cup, as a lot of people say. And he escaped outside, and he still had him engaged, and you saw that pull the cloth. So there's a one hold. The other one was Garrett Greenfield got drawn off as they came into the neutral zone on a trying to jump the snap and then backing out. That's kind of petty, but that is what it is, And then we had some silly penalties where later on in the game we got 15-yarders for tackling out of bounds, or just some dumb stuff that we can't get caught doing.
Yeah, Terry, I agree that blindside block was a crock. That's a new rule, and it's all about player safety. I don't like it, but as the rule's written, probably the right call. So
yeah, I agree, Terry, and I'm glad that I don't know about you guys. I was like, oh man, I think I even said in the text thread, I hope they don't get him for targeting there, because then that would have been, that's our backup. That's Amar, and he played a heck of a game. So then what? It's like we're getting into some depth issues there.
It is. Those calls bring me back to sound like an old guy here. Kyle, you're probably in the same boat though. If you were the victim of one of those blocks, not only would you get tea kettled, lose consciousness for a half a second, and not be able to breathe, you would then get yelled at for not seeing it coming. And that's all those things I think of is that just the insult to injury of getting yelled at for getting hit like that.
Absolutely. And it is watering down the game a little bit in terms of the tenacity, and I think maybe it could be counteracting itself, because it could cause more injury. People playing hesitant, tentative, and things like that. But I just want to see a little bit more consistency and not leave anything up to the ref's judgment. That's an ideal ask. I realize that, but in looking at the WIU game, when we travel down there, we really, I hope, or if we ever get that crew that was in that game, man, there was a lot of penalties. So, but it works both ways too, because Jackson Yankee got taken out across the middle on a way early hit, which was definitely a penalty that did not get called as well. That could have established more rhythm in the drive. So, I agree, Terry. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So some good things, though, a couple of good things besides the defense. Got to talk about the special teams effort as a whole. Hunter Dustman was terrific. Stig did express some disappointment with his performance at Indiana State. I believe he had like a 37-yard average or something like that against Indiana State, 49.5-yard average last night. And in his coverage, guys, really did a good job on that first punt, right? Knocking it back in, downing it with inside the 5, right? I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Cole Fromm, he's just been on fire this season. He had the block kicked last week, but man, he's looked good. He's looked so confident out there kicking.
Did he have new shoes? Too. Did he have new shoes? My wife brought up his shoes watching, and I'd not noticed him yet this year.
She probably caught it. Yeah, exactly.
They were very, very fancy. I'm not sure. He might have gone out afterwards, done some dancing.
Funny.
No, did he look good? He looked real good.
Yeah. And then Tyler Feldkamp. I mean, he just looks so comfortable. So comfortable back there as a punt returner. We talked about this last week, but he was definitely in that punter's head. I think it was Riggs, the color commentator, talked about that. Like, ooh, Tyler Feldkamp is in this punter's head. He's making him second guess himself, making him shank it. Like, yeah, I like that. I like having him back there a lot.
He has a confidence about him when he catches it, right? And like he has a good field presence and field awareness. And part of the good thing about playing an underclassman, in my opinion, who has prep experience with it, there's not really he has one job essentially at this juncture in his career, right? So put your complete focus in that. One thing I would like to see, we had a couple penalties on the returns. That's got to clean up. If you have a block in the back on punt, first thing I just want to mention, do not throw up your hands like it wasn't me. You draw attention to yourself, right? It's just like when you're trying to tell your mom a little white lie growing up, you add way too many words. It's like you're telling on yourself. You are telling on yourself if you throw your hands up, man. Just let it happen. Just act like you did everything you were supposed to do and move on. And then another thing with Feldkamp, if he listens to it, or anybody young who wants to play and be a returner one day, God bless you, because I think that's terrifying. But what you got to do is if you're hesitant on catching a ball or it's not you and you want to throw a fair catch, throw your signal up and then run and crack the guy in front of you who has an opportunity to down it. There was a couple times where he was hesitant with his decision on that, where it could have been more costly in the future. But when we overmatch an opponent like that, we can kind of get away with it. So things to clean up. Again, a lot of really good silver linings moving into good conference play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Terry mentioned Winkleman being in on everything too. Absolutely. So we'll get to game balls in a second. I'll tell you now, he was my runner-up for game ball because he had a sack and 2 tackles for loss and a pass defended. Like, as a defensive lineman, a defensive end, that is a pretty nice stat sheet. So take that.
As a defensive end, I'm disappointed you did not give it to him.
We'll get into it. I'll explain my reasoning. Anything else from this game, fellas? I'm happy non-conference is done.
I really wanted to get a better feel for what the crowd was like. And I texted a couple friends that were there. I didn't get a chance to make it. I'm in stupid work mode right now. It seemed good, but I couldn't really tell.
So
none of us were there.
Yeah.
So it looked awesome.
We are posers.
Yeah,
it looked awesome.
Were great.
Yeah. When they were showing the preview with Mr. Riggs and Tom on the Midco telecast, when they were showing the away side, it looked pretty well covered, and it definitely looked like folks were attempting the blackout mode. So that was really exciting to see. Because again, like Coach Stig would say, because we're kind of all walking mouthpieces of his philosophy at this point who played for him. It's like, that's all for the fans essentially at the end of the day, right? Like I was bothered by not having black threads and being in full uniform for a blackout, right? Because all black is what the blackout part is. But the fans seemed like they did their job. They showed up and they looked like student section looked covered again. So
good.
You got to give credit where it's due, especially, if Matt Zimmer is giving a positive nod to the fans, then it must be true. Because admittedly on the
that's
pod.
A good point.
Yeah.
Yep. So a friend of the pod, Joshua Hoffman, he's a student at SDSU. He interacts with us quite a bit on Twitter and Facebook. And so he has let me know that the student section is doing like a camo theme next week for SIU. And I asked him my follow-up question. I was like, wait, are there camo jerseys again? Because those were sweet.
Those were sick.
He said not that he knows of, but it's just going to be a student, a camo theme. So
is this like a grassroots thing? Are they just doing it?
I think so. Honestly,
those
I think
are the best.
So.
Those
oh
are
my
the
God,
best.
it's happening. It's happening.
So he must be in some park and rec class or sports and rec class, because a week ago, the 21st, he messaged me and just said, can you help retweet and share some promotional materials my class is doing there for the next 2 games, Dixie State and Southern. So
love it.
Yeah. So I don't think there's not camo uniforms that I know of. If they are, I'm going to be shocked as heck, and that'll be sweet.
I still
but
think
they're just encouraging
due.
people. Yeah. So
I still think they're due. My understanding was the way the budget is set up is they get a new set every 2 years, and this year they should be due for something. But I don't.
Kind of looks like they redid the style, right? Like last, I want to say we'll call it just Dallas Goddard's era. They had the blue with the stripes on the pants. And then now they're just all solid with the SD on the patch on the pants. So I could be assuming, and again, that's probably not in my wheelhouse, but I would imagine if we don't have all black pants, we probably don't have camo jerseys yet. It could be something coming in the pipeline. I like when they do those auctions though, because it seems like they pay for themselves at that. So guys, that's what every major FBS university does. Maybe anybody listening who's on the admin side could get that ball rolling. So we can kind of outfit the boys in some cool swag to match their level of play.
Yeah,
so
I'll say I just bought 3 MSU Minnesota State hockey jerseys because they were doing that. I mean,
nice.
Yeah,
yes, that's exactly how that works.
I bought the camo one at auction. So
nice.
Yeah.
Say real quick, we got Garrett Meyer chimed in on Facebook, said capacity looked like 80% from the inside. So okay, that's good. I saw the 14.5 or whatever. Decent number. You just couldn't really get a feel for it, or I couldn't. And if anybody right now, we don't get too many people watching live, but if you got questions, if you want to hear about anything, please go ahead and put in a comment. We'll get it up.
So what is your favorite uniform combo, or what would be your dream uniform combo if we could choose?
I would go with something unseen so far. I would call it the wild hair concept, where they'd be gray, like all gray, kind of a la Boise State, with a chrome lid, maybe like a blue chrome lid with either the rabbit on the side or just the SD on the side. Keep it traditional, something like that, just to kind of progress fully into this era. Or just, I love the all whites. All whites are clean. Maybe throw a white helmet out there. That would always be cool. But I was doing some research. I think it's like to completely outfit. So we're talking helmets, jerseys, pants, shoes, socks, gloves. It's like 100. It's like 6 figures to try to really outfit a squad. So we'll see. But how about you, Matt? What do you think?
I really love the all whites look. So I would go with the all whites with like I don't know. This is going to be kind of wild, but like a black number, all whites with a black number with a matte black helmet with a yellow rabbit on it. So that's what I would do. It'd be weird, but
wow.
Why not?
It's taking me a little bit to imagine that. I think I like it. I like, honestly, the matte black with the yellow rabbit. That's a cool idea in itself. My only comments, Stig has always loved yellow pants for special occasions. I hate yellow. So I do not. I when we had the yellow jerseys and stuff there for a spell, I could not stand that. I hate that. Mine is very close to Kyle's. I want like the white on white or all blue with either a chrome helmet or white helmet, chrome face mask. I really like Memphis, the way that
exactly.
Some of their looks, like a couple of those would be super cool. But honestly, a matte white helmet would go with anything. Just add that in.
Yeah, let's dream big, fellas. There we go.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah. All right. Should we do some game balls?
Let's do it.
Definitely.
All right. So offensively, I went with Mike Morgan. He just does so many cool things, and I'm just happy he was able to get a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. And in the post game, You could kind of tell in his post-game interview, those meant a lot to him. And he looked really good in the open field there as an athlete. So,
and it was his birthday. So
yeah,
to cap off your birthday with 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, I mean, you're batting 1,000 there. And, when you're a fullback, you make the most of any time the ball even comes near you. As we saw last year at UNI, we've talked about his 2 fingertip snag in that game. That was a huge catch in the moment. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he just upped the ante in this one. Nifty footwork, Matt. I'm glad you brought that up. He showed footwork of a running back, and Coach Stig mentioned it when we were doing our interview that he's an excellent football player. And I ran into Mike's dad in Colorado, and we were kind of talking, and he gave me some background on Mike just randomly when I was hiking out there. And to hear Coach Stig then follow that up with sincere, Mike Morgan is a terrific football player. I was like, wow. To get Stig to give a nod like that, that's incredible. So it's good to see him finally get to capitalize on that ability that he has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other offensive players for you, or are we good to go there?
I personally am good on offense. I want to highlight. What about you, Dallas? You got anybody?
No, I do not. That's clearly who stood out. Super happy for him. Love to see an H-back getting some love, and whatever position you want to call him. Like you mentioned Zimmer earlier, he pointed out how ridiculously deep our tight end room is, and I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah. Yep. And I do want to highlight Heidi actually. Keaton Heidi has continued. He's unfortunately, when you're a quarterback and you're not the main guy, you're either everyone's favorite when the guy's not balling out under center, or you're just you can fall into the land of the forgotten. And Keaton's not really let that affect him. And he's played with progressively more confidence, which is great. Because I think we all he took Jackrabbit Nation a little bit by surprise coming into such a big moment in College game day. I know we've touched on it, but for him to only have been a redshirt freshman there and to go through the COVID year and to not really get the quality of reps continually moving along as the past 2 seasons have gone by, it's a testament to his fortitude. And he really should, like Tammy said, he really should feel good about himself that he took a couple steps. I like him lowering the boom. I'm glad the linebacker that he trucked for the first down, came back into the game. But, maybe Keaton, let's go ahead and dive next time away from the contact, because
you don't want to see that.
No, we need all the quarterback play we can get. Maybe if we were 4 deep with all starting experience, that's another story. But yeah, glad everybody's healthy.
Talking about the practice reps, that's something that gets brought up some, but I don't know that everybody really understands what that means. Imagine in your job, if you only get to work 20 hours a week. And then in those 20 hours, one person gets, 17 of those 20 hours, and you get 3 hours or whatever it is, right? Like that's backup quarterback. And that's what you get. It's not the same.
Fantastic point, Dallas. But yet you're evaluated on those 3 hours as if you got a full 20.
Exactly.
Right? And that is the backup quarterback in today's era. And it'll always be that.
Yep. It matters, because your number 2 is not running your scout team either, because he's too valuable to run your scout team. So he's not getting the reps with the 3s and 4s, but he's standing there watching, and everything is mental, and that it makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. And I did write about that in general in the rants and raves today, just as a rave, that the reps our young guys have gotten these first 4 weeks and our backups have gotten, man, that's so valuable, just in case there are further injuries down the road, and in a year or 2 when they become the starters. It's not going to be such an adjustment. They'll already have had these live reps coming their way. And maybe make, all these practices where they're the dummies or not seeing the field a little more bearable, I'm guessing. So for those moments like that.
Indeed. And just to highlight a few more people, and then maybe we can put a cap on this whole Dixie State game as a whole. But the Kusler is it Kusler twins? I don't know how to pronounce some of these German names. So Kusler twins, excellent job. Getting some play, really just adding more and more depth at the linebacker position. Barnett did some nice things when he was in there. The physicality, top to bottom, from our defensive backs was great. McCoy got a pick. Arel got a pick. Arel made like back-to-back fantastic plays, which was nice to see. Obviously, we talked about Beanham. Malik got a pick. Would love to see, I think, a couple times, Weapon X, I think Chad calls him. Backus had an opportunity for a pick six when he was scraping to the flats. It was pretty funny there. Surprisingly, the Barracuda was a little quiet, probably because he didn't get to play, a full scope of 4 quarters. But defense looked excellent. Want to give a nod to Corbin Mahaffey for knocking down a PAT. That's excellent to see. A backup kicker there. And then let's see, anybody else? Yeah, I would love to, highlight Amar. Amar did great in terms of getting the minutes that he got. I love his running style. I think he's going to be a really nice addition to the backfield for a long time in his career here. Receivers look pretty good. I want to highlight, the third head of the Madison crew, Leighton.
Mason Leighton.
Leighton did an excellent job. Just being a good safety valve for Keaton when he was rolling out of the pocket. The backup offensive linemen, those guys I think did a really good job as well. Both the Miller boys did a pretty good job. During
those are the things that I felt best about coming out of that game, Kyle, is just knowing that if somebody gets dinged up, needs a series off, like basically everyone you just listed off really can step in and get it done. It was really, really good to see that. Yep. And also, sorry, I had to put up here, fellow JCC grad Aaron said she's waiting for the Rudy chant to come from the student section. Rudy Voss got in. Maybe happy to see that.
Yeah. And I thought he was going to get another his first collegiate touchdown. So we should give a nod to Burhigh for that as well. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My defensive game ball is going to go to Dallas Beanham. And I think anytime you get a pick six, that puts you in the running for that. And he did just barely beat out Winkleman for that. We talked about Winkleman already, but game ball went to Dallas on that. I love his future. He's going to be so good. Ugh.
And you are usually right when you make those calls early on. So I'm going to go with it. I'm on the bandwagon already.
Yeah. And you were predicting it, pre-game during the week. So that's always nice to see. Because like we say in the group chat, man, it's almost like we pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we talked about Dallas in the preseason a little bit, but I mean, down there in Omaha, he was going up against Xavier Betts, Xavier Watts, Cade's younger brother. I mean, he's seen some pretty dang good wide receivers. I mean, between those three, one's at Notre Dame, one's at Nebraska, and one's at Iowa. And he was lining up across from them. So he knows what he's doing. Yeah. So, yeah.
Good stuff.
All right. Cougs is always on the Barracuda bandwagon.
Yes, he is.
We'll make plays when needed.
He's the one that gave him the name. He named him.
He did.
And Tyler Merriam uses it now. So
I love that.
God, yeah. Travis Lindekugel, Coug, I played with him. Somebody I looked up to from the second I got to camp. He was one of those, when you're a skinny little freshman, you showing up and there's just giant grown-ass men. You're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to compete with that. Like he was that to me.
Yeah. I met him. We met down in Frisco. So nice. In line for the concession stand, we were both trying to get beer and getting rained on. So yeah. All right, let's move on to SIU, huh? Hey?
Sounds good.
All right. So SIU's coming in at us at 4-1. Their only loss on the season was to Kansas State. And they took Kansas State to the wire in that game. They looked really good. Stone Labanowitz, who was kind of their playoff superhero, is gone. And
he still has the best name in football.
Yeah, right? Well, he's not in football anymore, but wherever he is, he's the best name in the transfer portal. Maybe. But in there now is Nick Baker, Nick Baker is kind of famous for engineering the slaughter of NDSU last year when SIU took them down and really kind of announced they were on the national stage and that butt whooping that they put on the Bison down in Carbondale. So I don't know. This team can really run the ball still. Passing wise, Baker is pretty good. He has 11 TDs on the season, and they still have their really good receivers that we know all about, Landon Lenore, and Avante Cox. Avante Cox may be the best receiver talent-wise in the conference. Lenore has 12 more receptions than him this year. So this is a good team. This is a good offense that we're going to have to contend with. Kyle, you spent some time watching the SIU and WIU game. What did you see?
Yeah, and just following SIU as a whole, I really like what Nick Hill is doing there. He's progressively upped the level of play and expectation in that program that does have a strong history. Best year in blue and yellow that my team was able to put together. We lost to SIU for the conference title, and then they went on to the playoffs. We went on to the playoffs as well, but it was our one loss in 2009. So I've had a lot of respect for this program ever since. Nick Baker is one of those guys who plays a lot of savvy and a lot of moxie, to use those cliche words, because it's true. He's decisive with the football. He knows how to make plays. He just seems like he has a knack for it. He's not going to wow you with any prototypical size, but he gets the ball out quick. He plays well within the offense. He's got a lot of weapons too. And one guy we should certainly highlight as well, who I saw show up quite a bit in the WIU game, just as a person who kept moving the chains and being a nice little outlet and a feature at times, is Donovan Spencer. He's the running back number 20, who's the transfer from Western Carolina. So he just adds another weapon to the arsenal for them. Avante Cox is, like you said, he's a weapon to be utilized and to be leaned on. They have Romir Elliott too, number 1, coming out of the backfield. He's a name we've heard coming out of Warren Central, which is a powerhouse in Indianapolis. There's another Cox on the roster, Deontay Cox, not to be confused with Avante Cox, who is another weapon. They have weapons all over the place. Really, it's just a matter of, are they going to play within their scheme this game? They did play sloppy in this past game. They got up early. We're up 21-0 on Western Illinois, but it was a real chippy game. It seemed like a lot was on the line for WIU in terms of pride. This is an in-state, I guess you would call it rival, but definitely in-state implications as far as recruiting and things like that. So, this is going to be a team that's well coached, that's ready to play. They got a lot of transfers on their team from the FBS ranks. So really recruiting to reload as far as Coach Hill has done there, and then looking at the defensive side of the ball, we got Quay Brown, who's a solid player. He's, from Florida, so he's no stranger to speed. It can really make an impact on the defensive side of the ball with taking the ball away. And then another guy I wanted to highlight real quick, who's absolutely had, played like his hair's on fire the past 8 games. And that is Jordan Berner, number 92. He broke through the line against Kansas State and just punched the ball out of a Big 12 running back's arms. And that running back is quite the player for Kansas State. So Jordan's continued to up his game. We're going to have our hands full, especially after we played this past game. This is a team that we took it to out in Carbondale last year. For everyone who's a follower of the Jacks, you'll remember that drubbing. But this is a team that came back on national television and really took it to the Jacks. And if not for hurting themselves in a couple different areas, maybe with some play calling and decision making, they would have been the ones playing Delaware in the semis. Yeah. So
I mean, we talked about that at the start of the season, that this has been circled on 120 calendars in that program since April or whenever that was this past year. So no, they've been waiting for this. They are ready. This is a very, very good team that's ready to come in and show us who they are.
Mm-hmm. A couple players we haven't named yet. We got to talk about Javon Williams. He is their big back, 6'3", 2, whatever he is, that can catch out of the backfield. He does run some wildcat. He only has 2 pass attempts this year, so it wouldn't shock me to see them maybe pull that rabbit out of the hat and let him run some wildcat and throw this week, just because they really haven't shown it much on film. And then one player that in that playoff game, do you remember they had all sorts of injuries along the defensive line for that playoff game, and just had like true freshmen were trotting out there. In that game, I specifically remember number 88, Giannini Belizaire, big 88. He's a true freshman, or was a true freshman, 6 foot 308, and he was just wreaking havoc in that playoff game, and really kind of affected our run game negatively in that game just from his interior penetration. So, with Anthony Knighton and with Burner and this cat, I mean, they have some nice players on the interior there. So that's something I'm looking at, is just the line of scrimmage and how that goes, because that was the big difference, in my opinion, in the playoff game versus the regular season. They really held their own in the playoff game on the line of scrimmage, in my opinion. So
yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see our plan of attack, right? Because I think a big feature and a big component when we played them both times was Isaiah Davis and his style. One cut, press the hole, get 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and just continue to do that until one breaks for a big one. And then obviously the featured run game with Mark. I mean, these are essentially the two same teams, but the complexion changes dramatically without Mark and without Isaiah. So when you're attacking an odd front like they've got, where, odd front, 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers, or, 3 linebackers and an extra DB. What's up, Dom? It's one of those things where, are we going to attack the alley and force the rover and some of the skinny guys, as Stig would call them, to come up and make their run fits? Are we going to move the pocket and play the field in thirds, outside the hashes, live outside the hashes? What are we going to do to really establish our offensive identity in this game? That's what I'm going to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all fair.
Do you think there's anything? I've been wondering this whole time, right? Like Eck, I'm a giant Eck fan, and I always have the feeling that he's thinking 4 games ahead. And right now, like, he spent the last 4 games imagining what he wasn't going to show and what he was prepping SIU to look at on film, right? And even now he's going to show some stuff, and he's already imagining what he's going to show. I forget the name of the team up to the north, in 4 or 5 weeks. So, I mean, do you think they're like, what if you had to guess, either one of you guys, what maybe we could roll out this week that we haven't seen yet? What would it be?
I think it'll be simple. I don't think we'll try to reinvent the wheel, but I think in terms of what you're talking about, there's going to be a lot of dressing, a lot of window dressing. I was watching in the rewatch. There were so many fakes carried out of so many different things that if they're not preparing for it, just like you said, Coach Eck he's gonna go to the well. He's gonna look to see what he can't exploit on the defensive side of the ball with, whether it's an orbit motion, where you got the receiver coming behind the running back, or, Chris carrying out a certain type of fake, or, Chris lining up at gun and then moving to pistol and then moving to under center, or Pierre lining up at quarterback after Chris motions to the side to get set. It's like there's so many aspects for a defense to have to prepare for. And when you're looking through your call sheet, what is Quay Brown studying? Is he studying the 45th page in the defensive breakdown of offense? Does he see that one play in that formation? Does he remember that? I mean, these are things that you load up college students like that, and you just make them have to deal with it.
One thing that I'm thinking of, because I don't think at this point in the season we want to run Chris a ton yet, even though I think he's more than capable. I don't know what NDSU is doing up there running Quincy the way they are. That blows my mind. But anyways,
it's
sorry.
QBU. They've got like 7 more probably.
Yeah, sorry.
They're fine. They're fine.
It just, I watched the part of that game and like trying to run the wheels off him. Sorry, we're not going there. What I think we're going to see is some pony package with Amar in the backfield with Pierre. We did see that early in the season with Isaiah, but they have not run that yet with Amar since Amar got in the lineup, because we haven't had to. But both are very capable receivers. out of the backfield. So I think we might see some pony package if something gets a little bit different there.
I just want to see us execute what we have, like I would love to see the pony package shoot. I'd love to see, Pierre take 10 snaps a game at quarterback, just going to be exciting. As long as we get the win. But, for me, I want to see Chris just be able to develop a rhythm, right? Like be able to hit his tight ends, hit his back out of the backfield, be able to work through his progression, not get too caught up staring at one side. Our defense is at home. Our defense is solid at home and pretty good when they travel. But this is going to be a heavyweight bout, right? So, Dallas, I guess to answer your question, I would say I feel like Coach Eck is so established at this point in terms of play calling. It's going to be like a jab, right? He's going to jab him, set him up for the hook, something like that. So hopefully it's a steady run game because we're able to get 4 to 5 yards a pop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So before we get into predictions here and kind of our picks for breakout players, we gotta talk quick about the bookstore, Jackrabbit Central, our sponsor. Really appreciate them, all the work that they do to get Jackrabbit fans the apparel they want and need before the games. Again, excellent customer service. Kyle, you've ordered a bunch of stuff. Ben, in their episode this week, had his musical bottle opener. That was pretty cool. I wish I had bought one of those 1 penny things now. And every day, I talked about it last week, but every day my daughter loves wearing her super soft SDSU coat. So bringing my son on Saturday to the game, I'm going to let him pick something from the bookstore while we're there too. So
nice.
Yeah.
I just got a brand new Raglan Under Armour Rabbit tee, so I'm hyped for that. It's still like 89, 90 degrees here in Texas, so I'm just waiting to be able to break that out.
It is beautiful fall up here. So yeah. All right.
Jealous.
So predictions here. I'm honestly, I haven't even written the blog yet, the opponent preview. But I'm thinking this is going to be a tight one. I'm thinking SDSU 34-31, something like that, right in that range.
I'm going to go 28-27. Good guys. I think it's going to be it's going to come down to who can make fewer mistakes and who can play the cleanest football as far as the penalty game.
Yeah, this is going to be meat grinder, and I don't think it's they can put up some points. Sorry, Matt, what did you give?
34-31.
34-31, 28-27. I will go in the middle. Let's go 31-28.
Okay.
Yep, let's go.
Which one of you was spot on last week for Dixie State? One of you guessed 55-7.
I think it was me.
Yeah, I think it was Dallas. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah. All right.
Kick is going to win this game.
Oh, all right. So, is that your breakout player?
Yep.
Go from.
Yep.
You
And
said a
Kyle,
kick.
I did. Dude, I saw your tweet earlier that you never leave it in the hands of a kicker. And I'm in the same boat. I don't watch. Even if I'm in the stands, anyone that's ever watched a football game with me knows if we're kicking a field goal, I turn around and I look out of the stadium. And it's not a disrespect thing. I just emotionally, I can't handle it. So I turn around.
Hey, if we're going to have a guy have to bring it home for us outside of Vinny, it's great that we got Fromm because, I think he's capable of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember doing that Dallas, the Montana State game, the Gold Rush game where we ran that fake and everyone's going nuts. And I turn around and there's Chase running towards the end zone. Yep.
Same thing. Yep. I was up in the corner and I whipped around and saw, that was a good one. God, that was fun. We need to go back out there. I know we don't.
You guys are both there?
I do it at home too.
Gotcha.
Oh God, that was so much fun. I love that town. I know we don't need those kinds of games.
It's beautiful
for non-conference, but man, that was great.
Just a couple of years, then we go up there. So
nice.
All right, Ryan. I like that. Ryan Francel says, "No way defense gives up 30 points." I like it.
Shout out too if you're related to the other Francel who made a little clutch play.
2 fumble recoveries.
Weekend. That's right.
Yeah, he looks nice out there. All right, my breakout player. I think Chris Oladokin gets back on the I don't
Schneid,
know.
is that what they
Schneid,
say?
whatever. Yeah, the right side. I don't know. I think he has a cleaner game after the last two. Comes out just a little bit sharper. Really looks in command. I mean, he showed what he can do against Colorado State, in the brightest of lights. So let's go.
I like Jaden Yankee to be, a crisp, clean route runner, coming free at pivotal moments. I think so. If Chris is gonna win your player of the game, I think it's gonna be a function of the aid from one of the Yankee twins. This time it being Jaden, and then I'm gonna see on defense. Who do you like, Matt? Who do you think is gonna be a breakout star?
Oh man, he hasn't made the huge splashy plays this season, but Logan Backus, I'm taking Logan.
He plays with a nice little chip against this team, which I like. I like seeing. There's a lot of physicality. He was my player of the game and player to watch this past game. But Xavier Ward, I don't know how he prefers the pronunciation, but I'll just call him the X or X, and not to be confused with Exhibit or DMX, but but yeah, no, he was a pest. He was a full grown man this past game, and I think he'll hopefully have an impact like he did this past week as far as being disruptive in the backfield. I'm gonna do something I've never done though. Him and the Colonel Sanders. I'm gonna give it to both of them.
Does the Colonel know we've given him a nickname, by the way? Have we talked about this?
He's not on social media, so we'll have to tell Stacker or something to tell him.
Yep, somebody's got to tell him.
So, yeah.
I feel like that's very cliche, but it's just too perfect not to use it.
It is, and I take 100% credit for that, by the way.
It's all you.
There we go. We can get Miriam to start using that.
Oh, I like that. Well, we need to get I don't want to get sidetracked here, but I was thinking mid-season, we need to get Tyler on. We need to get Zimmer on just to do kind of a mid-season breakdown. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Can I get mine?
Yeah. Sorry, Dallas. Yeah.
All right. That's fine. I was
gonna jump to Terry's there. So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So offense, I've said that I don't like just using the O-line as a group because that's kind of cliched and I don't care for it. Those guys need to get pissed off. The super senior leader, Wes, needs to get them together. He needs to lead that group, and they need to just bulldoze whatever SIU thinks they're going to throw at us. So I'm going to go break out O-line. McCormick's going to get pissed and just go juggernaut on everybody. That's what I want to see. So I'm going O-line there. And defense, I guess because the stats that Winkleman put up wasn't good enough for you, Matt. I'm going with Winkleman out of Marshall as the defensive player.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to highlight Terry's point. I just realized I'm even wearing my Moose hat. And that's Kurt's nickname for Reese is the Moose, Winkle, Rocky and Bullwinkle. So
nice.
The Moose. Yeah. So, I could see Reese having a good game. Baker's a smaller quarterback. Get those hands up, deflect some passes potentially. So, yeah. All right. Tucker Kraft goes full Gronk. Love it. I would love that. All right. Anything else, guys?
I just think there's a lot. There's not a ton of data points, right? So I think this is going to be a big game for the Jacks in terms of what type of team we're going to be moving forward into the thicker slate of the schedule. And nationally, there's a lot that still needs to shake up. But I think Eastern Washington, for those who didn't get a chance to see it last night, had a great showing against Montana, taking them down to the wire and closing the deal to get a victory, a very, very big victory against the Grizz. Now,
how great was that for the FCS, Kyle?
Excellent. It is just showcase on a national scale with the spotlight on ESPN2, a little bit of a later game. But if you're a football fan and you're watching that, I'm sure see the red turf. It is hard on the eyes. I love it though, just because it's different. And then, they have some serious athletes there, not just Eric Berrier, but they have Sengenbach, Jack Sengenbach, who's an excellent linebacker, was laying the boom last night on some folks, number 8, I believe, for Eastern Washington. So there are some serious players on the national scale right now, and it's going to be interesting to see where the Jacks really fall here coming up after a game like this with SIU.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if the Jacks win, maybe they will move up Chris Hammond's rankings a little bit. So.
Yeah, maybe from number 6, which is strange considering, Sam Houston, they played their in-state rival, Stephen F. Austin, and just barely eked it out and really was behind a long time in that game. So for them to maintain one, granted they did it with a backup quarterback, but it's not like they're rolling out slouches on their roster either. Sam Houston has a pretty deep roster, and I think the soft Houston moniker is like gone, right? Because they allow a lot of points, they're a very physical football team, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's great teams all around. I know the Battle of Dakota Territory up north, that was an interesting one as well. Looks like the Fighting Hawks have a pretty stout defense again. They're pesky up at the Alaris Center. So I mean, I'm glad we get to see them in Brookings this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Should be a great game on Saturday. Early kickoff, no more night games, so 2:00. Be there, be loud, and let's beat SIU. So with that, go big, go blue,
go Jacks.